Hello and welcome back to the second part of the Ajax tutorials. In the last tutorial we talked about what is Ajax. We showed a brief example of how to send some data back and also showed you how to download jQuery naturally. So we used in the last video tutorial the post function of the jQuery library. Okay, which makes things a lot more simpler. You can use JavaScript in itself with the XML HTTP request, but to be quite honest with you, you're going to have more problems with debugging code. You might as well just use a jQuery library because it's such a quick and simple thing. Therefore, I pretty much don't use the XML HTTP request anymore, because why write 20 lines of code when you just got to write one line of code? You know, it's crazy. So what we're going to do in this one, we're going to do a little bit of an extension on the last one, but this time we're actually going to send data back to the server. We're then going to insert it into a database. Okay, we're then going to extract that data from a database, and then we're going to send that data using JSON, or we can send it back with PHP, but we're going to send it back as JSON and then display it within inside this box. Okay, that's pretty much it. So let's start, shall we? So as you can see, this form, we've got first name, which is the input box, surname, date of birth, and we're going to use the date picker from the jQuery UI as well, okay, just to make this a little bit easier, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay, so I've got then a database of db_YouTube_tutorials and a table in here of people, and then with a very simple one with 4 columns. ID is the primary key, and then first name or first underscore name with varchar 255, so it's just textual. Surname once again, and db, we're going to insert it in as the date. There's nothing in there at the moment. Okay, we're running on local server, and yeah. So that's basically it. So let's get started with it, shall we? So just on the other side of it, we've got 3 list tags. Inside of there, we've got the ID of first underscore name for the first name, and then ID of surname and date picker. Okay, and then we've got our text area is response text with a big T for the text, and then our button is still called underscore back underscore button. So in our script.js, we want to rewrite this code, okay, because it's good practice to get used to writing it. So first of all, once the document has finished loading, then we want to fire this one event, okay. And inside of this, we want to basically add an event handler to call underscore back underscore button, okay. And we're going to assign it to the click function, okay, or the click part of it. Okay, so when someone clicks on that button on our form, then basically it's going to do this. Okay, so it's going to call this function. So first thing we're going to set up is the date picker. Okay, and that has the selector of the ID of date picker. So we're going to hook it up with that, not data picker, but date picker. Okay, so that one element has the ID of date picker, therefore the selector is using the hashtag with date picker after it, and the object which we're going to be using, or the method we're going to be using, sorry, is date picker. And in here we're going to use some we're going to use an object, and we're going to say the date formats equals yy-mm-dd. Okay, and that's basically that bit there. So that's how it's going to format the text. Okay, now we want to do our post request. So the post request to jQuery takes 3 parameters, or 3 arguments, sorry, and we're sending back to the ajax.php, which is on the same level as the index.php. Therefore, we don't need to provide any directories or any forward slashes or anything like that. The second parameter argument, sorry, I always say that, parameter argument, every single time. Then is going to be an object of all of the arguments, or the parameters, sorry, which we're going to send back. Okay, and then the third argument then is the function, which is going to get called upon receipt of the response text. With inside of this, the argument of this one function is going to receive some data, which is the response text, which we will receive back from the server. So any textual information which we receive back from the server is going to be stored within inside of this one variable, which is going to be passed in to this one function by the post method of jQuery. Okay, so the parameters which we want to send back, okay, within inside of the post request are first name, and this one we're going to use jQuery to get the value, okay, and the input text box has the ID of first underscore name. So the ID, we're going to use the hashtag, okay, or the hash, in order to tell jQuery that the selector is an ID, and we're going to say then first underscore name, and we're getting the value attribute of that. Next thing, we're going to say surname, okay, and we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to hash, and this one was then surname, so we're getting the surname value. Okay, the next one is a little bit different. It's DOB we're going to send back, so date of birth, and on this one what we're going to do is with a hash again, we're going to say date picker, okay, and then we're going to access then the date picker method, okay, and we're going to say val. Okay, so we're basically getting the value of that one element. Okay, we could just use this method as well, but let's just use that. Okay, so when the data comes back, we're going to say response text, so it was an ID as well there, and then value equals data, and that's basically it for now. So let's check what's going on wrong there. Document.ready function. Oh, that's missed that there. That's better. Okay, so that's now done. Now on the server side, let's just check that our request actually does go back. So let's refresh our page. Let's click on here to see our date picker is, oh, it's on the click. Don't want that. So we want to move that out of the click. That wants to be on the document ready. Okay, so it's openly available. So let's refresh this again. Let's click on here, and as you can see, we get the nice date picker, and we can click a date, and it goes in there with the year dash then month dash then date. Okay, we're doing it this reason, so when we send the data back to the server, we can readily just put it straight into the database. We don't have to worry about flipping the dates around. It's for speed and for simplicity in this one tutorial. Any other way you would spend the time and effort putting the date in nicely, okay, and then convert it back again using PHP. Okay, so let's send some data back, and let's say David Thorne. Okay, and let's test with Firebug by pressing F12 on Firefox, and let's watch the request go. So let's click Save Data. The post request went back to ajax.php, and there you can see the data. Right, something which I forgot to mention in the first tutorial. Okay, this is the most important thing out of Ajax. Okay, and everything else I've told you so far, I want you to deprioritize it and just listen to this. Okay, this is the most important thing about Ajax. Okay, Ajax is not cross-domain. Okay, it will only work on the same domain. Okay, not on subdomains, nothing like that. Only on the same domain that's actually in the URL. Okay, so if you sending back a request, it's got to be on this one domain. So anything past the /, so if it's index.php or in any other folder, it can send it back, but it cannot send to any other domain. Okay, it's not cross sites or cross domain, sorry, so you couldn't put in test.tutorials.local to another domain. It would not work. Okay, so just to reiterate that once again, Ajax will only work when you send a request back to the same domain. Okay, it's got to be the same domain. Okay, I think I said that enough. So just to show you this, the headers, it got sent back here, the host. This is what is important. It can only send back to the same host that it currently is at the moment. Okay, so when you look in the headers of the request headers, the only place it can send, the browser will stop you from sending this if it's not, the host doesn't exactly match what JavaScript and the browser sees as the host of this one website. Okay, okay, so now we're sending the data back, and what we need to do now is configure the Ajax.php to send something back, because potentially we didn't send anything back. So let's open up our PHP tags. Now in the previous tutorial, what we did is we sent back here Ajax equals true. Now I don't want to do this because I want to show you the other good method or better method to do this. Now there's also in the server super globals, there's the request method. Okay, now in this we can say basically, let's save this as a variable. So method equals this. Okay, and what we're going to test is that we're going to say first of all string to lower, and method is equal to post. We're only allowing a post request to access this one data. Okay, we're not allowing any get or anyone to directly navigate to this one ajax.php file apart from when using a post request. Now we could go even further to make sure that the post request has come from the same domain. Okay, but let's not do that in this one tutorial. Okay, so we're only checking if the post request has come from, sorry, if the request has only come from a post request. So this request has come from a post request. Okay, and let's just copy this because I'm pretty certain you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to say else this request has not come from a post request. So let's come to here, let's F12 once again, let's go clear this, let's send this, and we can see here, look, we can already see up here the data's gone in there. This request has come from a post request. Now let's then come into here and say ajax.php, this request has not come from a post request, therefore it knows that it's a get request, or everything else but not get post request. Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, let's go back. For more information you can look on the PHP website for the server variables. Okay, or the server super globals. Okay, so we can get rid of this now because we don't want to tell someone hey, that there's actually anything happening on this one page. Okay, so let's save some data now. So first name equals, and we're going to say add slashes, and inside of here we're going to say post first name. Okay, and then surname, and then we'll say add slashes again, and surname. Okay, and then we're going to say date of birth, and once again we're going to say add slashes and DOB. Okay, just for clarity, when we send back, when we make these here, so first name, this is the post request variable, okay, that we're going to be sending back, okay, and we're going to be receiving. So this first name is going to have this value of here, and we're going to access it by accessing the post variable of first name. Okay, the key value pair is going to be the first name, surname, DOB, and so on, and we're going to save that into first name, surname, DOB. Okay, next thing what we're going to do is, I've just done it again, sorry, just need to get something from this. Oh, you bugger. Oh, wrong one. Sorry, I had the password saved on here, but then I just deleted it. So I'm going to have to come to here to get it. Okay, so let's close that window down. Sorry about this. Sorry. Okay, so it's just a hashed, it's just a generated password. Okay, so next thing we want to do is want to connect to the database. Okay, so we're just going to say mysql connect, and in here we're going to say localhost because this is running on the local server, and we've got the user is YouTube, and then the password is that there. Okay, the DB, so we need to select the database now. If I don't do this, and it's called DB YouTube tutorials. Okay, next thing we want to do is check to make sure that the connection is all okay. Okay, and then we'll just say else echo there was an issue with connecting to the database. Server, that'll do. Okay, so now if we're all happy with connection, what we need to do first of all is write our inserts SQL. So insert into people, the table was called, and we want to then say, okay, inside of here, we want to say first name, surname, and date of birth, and we'll say values, and just put that in there. And then we want to go first name. So what I love about NetBeans is it just finishes it all off for you, and say surname. Let's put the quotes around it as well. Whoops. And then comma, and then quotes, and then DOB. Okay, and then end quotes. So that's what it looks like there. Okay. Now, next, let's make the query. So mysql query SQL, and let's check to make sure that the query was all okay. So if query, if we get a true, otherwise we're going to get a null. Then we want to check that. Oh no. So we want ID. Okay, so if the query was all okay. Okay, let's go one step further, shall we? If mysql, no, that's not right. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Okay, so now, whoops. Now we want to actually extract the data from the database. Okay, so the ID is going to be mysql inserts ID. So we're retrieving the last inserted ID and saving it into ID, and then we're going to say once again, okay, select everything from people where ID equals ID, and we'll say then query once again, mysql query and SQL once again, and let's just say if queries, can get boring writing all this, and I'm pretty certain that my SQL is fine, so I'm not even going to else that. I'm going to say if mysql num rows, and then query is equal to 1, because we only want one response potentially. We're going to say row equals mysql fetch objects from the database, and we're going to fetch that row. Okay, so we're going to save the row. We're going to save the row of the table into the row variable as an object. Okay, as a standard class object. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to say echo JSON encode row. Okay, that's basically it. Nothing more to it than that. Now all we got to do, so let's just check this quickly, and then we can come back to it. Right, so we don't need to refresh the page because the page should be exactly the same. Therefore, we just send it back, and as you can see, ta-da! Okay, so the response here is a JSON response. Okay, and it's ready for us to manipulate with JavaScript. Okay, which is really, really cool. So I said that's all we was going to do. So let's going to have a quick talk about this. We sent back the first name with the value of first name using the ID, surname once again. So from the form, the surname value, then the DOB. We used the date picker, okay, and then we then put the response text, which we got from the Ajax.php, into then the text area of response text. Okay. And the most important thing which we mentioned is that Ajax is not cross-domain. It's not cross-domain, and say it for the last time, it's not cross-domain. It has to be on exactly the same host. Okay, exactly the same host, can't change. Okay, so once that data went back to the server, which went to ajax.php, we checked to see, or we saved the request method, and we checked to see that we would only process this if a post request had been sent back to the server. We then saved first name, surname, and date of birth, and we basically removed any, we added slashes to any single quotes and so on to stop any SQL injection. Then we connected to the database. Okay, we selected the database, or we connected to the MySQL server. Then we selected the database. We checked to see if the connection was all okay. Okay. Then what we do is we inserted the values into the database. Then we queried it. then we checked to see the query was okay. We retrieved the ID that we last inserted. Then what we did is we went back to the database to retrieve that one row. We queried it. We checked to see the query was okay. We checked to see that we only had one response back, or one row back. We then stored that one row into the variable of row. We then encoded it into JSON, which is a textual form. Okay, so you're taking an object or an array, okay, or any other text, and storing it into a textual form in order to be transferred safely through the web. Okay, and we echoed it out. Therefore, we got a response. On the other side, on the script side, we then got that JSON, and it was stored inside the data. So we know that the post method, once it's finished doing its task, it's then going to fire this one function and pass in the response text, which it got from the server, into this one function as a variable stored in data. We then outputted that data to the response text text area, which is here. Okay, that's it. Okay, this is then the next step in how to do it. The next tutorial, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into doing some more stuff. Okay, my name's David Thorne. Thank you very much for watching. And by the way, my date of birth is not 2013, or it's the 7th of March 2013. Otherwise, I would then be like 3 days old. Okay, yeah, come and visit me on YouTube. You're probably watching the video on YouTube already. Okay. And otherwise you can come to my website, which is thornwebdesign.com. I'm going to make another Ajax tutorials thingy-bob here, navigate button. Okay, then you can watch the videos on my website as well. Okay, otherwise I appreciate for you to watching. I hope you've learned something, and there's more coming. Okay, and if you're watching it on Sunday the 10th of March, okay, at around 10 o'clock Central European time, then there's going to be one more coming tonight as well, so keep watching. Okay, right, that's it. Thanks very much for watching. Have a pleasant evening. Goodbye.